Mr. Secretary General Pace, Ms. Jonas, as you know, today's hearing is focused on the fiscal year 2008 budget, not the funding for the war. In the future, however, this committee is committed to ensuring that for purpose of planning and honest accounting, wartime funding must be included in the base budget. It's a help when you send up with the supplemental with the bill this year, which gives us an idea of how much you need, but we still want to see it inside the bill. Fact is, the war cannot be viewed in a vacuum of supplemental spending bills. This war will have a long-term impact on the future defense programs, spending for the future of our military. Today, because of the administration's mishandling of the war, the United States military is weaker than it was 5 years ago. Our forces are stretched thin and are caught in now what I consider an Iraqi civil war. It's a war that cannot be won solely by the United States military, and one that can only be fought by Iraqis. Our military is being forced by this administration to abandon its own guidelines, well-established guidelines that have been in effect for years. These guidelines, when followed, maintain our military strength and superiority and ensure that our forces are combat ready and mission capable. I'm deeply concerned about the readiness of our forces to decisively defeat future threats. While our Navy and Air Force can be used to project power, there's no substitute for boots on the ground. I was an early proponent of increasing our overall end strength because we are doing too much with too little. We have lost too many lives in this war. Far too many have received serious and debilitating injuries. These are not just numbers. Each number has a face that shall forever be ingrained in our consciousness for their sacrifice and dedication and valor. They are the faces of our sons, daughters, mothers, and fathers whose lives have been forever altered. These are the faces of those who are loved and cherished by their families and their communities. Every one of these faces deserves the best that this country can offer. They deserve missions that are clear and achievable, and the most appropriate training, the best equipment, and the necessary time at home with their families and loved ones to reconstitute. I'm deeply concerned that this administration has concentrated too heavily on Iraq and not heavily enough on Afghanistan and other growing conventional threats, Iran, North Korea, Russia, in particular China. We are desperately short of equipment at home, which not only impacts our ability to respond to disasters at home, but also our ability to train our troops on equipment they'll be using in combat. Our strategic reserve is severely depleted, and this is an alarming situation, one that needs urgent rectification. Over the past appropriations cycle, it's been this committee who has put in for the 30,000 additional troops, money needed for equipment and rehabilitation and replacement. Serious problems such as these do not come to light and are not solved on their own. I was the one who, when I went over to Iraq in August of 2003, found 44,000 shortage of body armor. We had people actually buying body armor and sending it to our troops. And we remember that was because of the calculation in the fact that how intense the opposition would be. A Washington Post reporter uncovered the conditions at Building 18 at Walter Reed. Bill Young and I go out there all the time. Most of the committee got to Walter. You go there. Both of you have been there. And yet we didn't know about what happened. It takes a Washington Post reporter to find out. This is obviously unacceptable. In the days of rosy scenario, misguided optimism must end. Secretary, you're viewed as an honest, straight-shooting, tough leader. And I've dealt with you over a long year. We've known each other, and we're friends. Depending on you to provide this Congress with honest assessments, realistic recommendations, cooperation, and mostly communication and dialogue. Now, let me just tell you what I'm talking about. Last year, Bill Young and I decided, he was chairman of the committee at the time, that there was a need for additional money, no request from the administration, no request from the Defense Department for a supplemental appropriation. I suggested to Bill that we need $20 billion. I think we need more. We put $50 billion in. Now no justification, nothing from anybody about what needed to be done. Well, I sent staff out all over the country to look at this situation. Then when I came back, I made a report to the committee, and Dave Obey and I had a news conference talking about the readiness and the dismal state of readiness in this country. We sent a letter to the July 26, 2006, asking him, making recommendations and asking for a consolidated report on how we're going to handle the readiness. We never got a reply. I mean, this is a serious matter, one of the most serious are facing the Defense Department at this time. We put another $20 billion in, to the $50 billion, because we felt it was absolutely essential to readiness in the conference. Now, we have to have cooperation and openness between the Defense Department and this committee. If we don't have that, we're not going to be able to solve the problems the way they should be solved. And I know you just came aboard, Mr. Secretary, and I've seen some indication that things are changing, much more open. For instance, I talked about the 30,000 troops. The Defense Department resisted that. They did the 30,000 troops. They didn't understand. Secretary Rumsfeld did not understand the shortages and the strain on the troops. And of course, we put it in anyway. They authorized them. We put the money in anyway. I actually thought there ought to be 100,000. Now there's a request for 90,000 more troops, and I know we're getting to that stage. But when I saw the other day that there were 120,000 contractors in Iraq, it made me realize what a problem we have when we have to hire that many contractors, which we pay so much more to be out in the field in Iraq. And it took almost a month for us before we could get the figure back here to us. So I'm looking forward, Mr. Secretary, to working with you and an honest assessment of the situation as you see it, so we can help work this out for the troops and for the future of this great country. Mr. Young.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. And Mr. Secretary General, Mr. Jonas, thank you very much for being here today. We all have a before us, so I'm anxious to get to your testimony. There are many, many needs in our military. We have an obligation to provide whatever equipment, whatever technology is necessary.